What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the Think, See, Listen channel, where I tell stories and testimonies, and I'm gonna do all kinds of stuff here. It's gonna be a cool channel. Thanks for watching. This is gonna be testimony number 3. It's gonna be the aftermath of my OBE NDE. So I woke up thinking, what the heck just happened? I was scared. I couldn't tell anybody because I was afraid to get sent to the mental hospital or something. But I did tell my friends, and they didn't know what the heck to do. In fact, I wound up losing all of them. And yeah, it didn't take away my suicidal depression, but it did awaken a search for the truth. So I head to find it where any smart 17 to 18-year-old boy would do, and go on the internet, because the Bible is for stupid people, like I was taught in school, even though I was brought up Catholic. I knew I wasn't Catholic, but I started to look online. I totally disregarded what I saw and who I saw standing with his outstretched arms in white raiment. But I went online and I just started learning about out-of-body experiences, and it sent me down a rabbit hole into the New Age and the dimensions, the fifth dimension, parallel universes, manifestations, what else? How we're transcending into become beings of light. And it all seemed like pretty close to what I experienced, and it had this pseudo-scientific backing to it, and I was all about it. But at the same time, another friend of mine, so I lost all my friends, but I kept a couple, made a couple new ones for the seasons, like had friends to get me through things, thankfully. I lost friends in my darkest times and made some new ones. But another friend of mine actually had a whole transformative experience with joining the Catholic Church. I mean, at the time I wasn't but I was going with him, and I was playing in the band for praise and worship, and going to prayer groups and partaking in intercessory prayer, and also practicing my New Age, like, jumbled up self-made religion, like Buddhism and different Eastern, like Hinduism, and I don't know, different philosophies, and just reading philosophies, and everything is one. And I was kind of in on this whole, like, there's no such thing as evil, because I have done evil things and I sinned against God, but yet I got to experience what I would describe as heaven. I mean, I didn't get to see it, but I got to feel it, and I got to see some amazing things and learn, wake up knowing things. And I don't know, I was that's a whole big thing in New Age. There's no such thing as evil. That, you know, I don't know. I was all about these things. Like, what you think is the truth, subjective truth. What you believe is what happens. Just like counter, and it's like contradiction, because I was kind of an atheist and I experienced something that I wasn't taught about in the Catholic Church, and I didn't believe in. But I'm playing the Catholic praise and worship nights and going to the prayer groups, but also doing Buddhist meditations and my own stuff. I started dabbling in psychedelics because it was the closest thing that would get me to that out of body place. I could never achieve that, no matter what I did. No matter how much weed I've smoked, or I would do shrooms, and it'd be a little counterfeit psychedelic experience, but no, lots of deception in that world too. Anyway, I went into this new age rabbit hole and was doing Christian stuff, and at the same time I was well, here, let's just get to where it started to change. It's a giant jumbled mess, I'm sorry. Hopefully you're following along. I just need to tell these stories. So, I was a new ager. I never got into astrology or tarot card. I always thought that was weird. Never messed with Ouija boards. I was always searching for God and what that experience I had out of body. I was trying to find that God. And I remember I was at a Buddhist meditation and I'm driving home. And this is what I was thinking. I was thinking, it's a God. Everything was searching for him. God, if I'm some kind of, I'm created in your image. If I'm a God-like being, and I'm supposedly transcending and transforming into this God-like creature to the fifth dimension of universal all-knowing knowledge, yet I'm supposed to have no ego, and everything I am doing revolves around myself and me. It's inward. What do I think? What do I believe in? Inside of me. Like, how can I say that I'm becoming like a God, like, transformed holy being, and say I have no ego and have it all be inside of me about me? And so I had this dilemma, and I'm like, it doesn't make sense. And I did what any good Catholic boy would do, is open up that Catholic Bible that I just got a couple months ago from the church I was at, and I opened up to this book called Sirach, and I asked the question, I was just, why does this not make sense? And I opened up the Bible and I started reading where my eyes landed, and it was just explaining everything that I was dealing with and how people are, and it was explaining society, and it's just a very deep experience. And that was when I knew that the God that I knew existed, who can tell me things that I knew yet I don't know, and then yet I can know things without reading them. It's like, these are like the things you were teaching me. And so I learned that and accepted that the God of the Bible is the one true God that I know for a fact exists. But I still had trouble with accepting Jesus Christ as the only begotten Son of God, and that he can't be the only way. But I at least found where God is. He's in the Bible. This Bible is God's book. But I don't believe that Jesus is the only way. That's so uninclusive and oppressive, and how racist of you to believe such a thing, right? Anyway, I started reading the Bible a lot, cutting back on all my Buddhist stuff. I really New Age and really, but I got into sun gazing, because there's all kinds of beliefs like Jesus wasn't, he's just a good teacher. He's not exclusively the only begotten Son of God, who was begotten before all ages, who spoke through the prophets and was the Word that literally made all creation. He wasn't that. He was just a good teacher or something. But I didn't get to the New Testament. I had a lot of transformations with the Psalms. Psalm 50 or 51 is it, in the book of Daniel. Different Psalms talking about how my enemies are round about me. And many great things. Daniel in the lion's den, and yet, the Holy Spirit protected him, and I had all these revelations how, like, this is how it's gonna be for us, and so I had been made aware of all the evil in the world. I stopped believing there's no such thing as evil. Once I started reading the Bible, and it was telling me all the evil things of society, that's when, I had this revelation of the people in charge are wicked, and I found out the devil's real, and I saw the devil in everything. Yeah, I saw the devil in everything, so I knew that God was real, the devil was real at this point. And then finally made it into read Matthew 5, the Beatitudes. And maybe I should read that, because I'm going to. Matthew 5. This was the one. This was the one. And all this time, while I'm reading the Bible, I'm convinced there's no church. Like, the church is all wrong. Like, I was convinced the Catholic Church was wrong for various reasons. Saw various things wrong with that. But I wasn't. I just didn't. I believed that you could just have your own. You can have your own relationship with God. You don't need a church. The Catholic Church isn't the church. I wasn't sure about the Protestant churches, but they weren't Catholics, so I started to try them out here and there. But all before this, let's read Matthew 5. This is I opened the Bible and I started reading this. And seeing the multitudes, he went up on a mountain. And when he was seated, his disciples came to him. Then he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And blessed are you when they revile you and persecute you and say all kinds of evil against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so they persecuted the prophets who were before you. And I read that, and I knew for a fact that Jesus Christ is the God, the only God that I know for a fact that exists. Because only the God that I know who can do such mighty things can come down and incarnate himself through a virgin into a man and live a sinless life and come and say these words. Because those are the things I experienced. And I didn't ask for this. So that's when I officially became a Christian. Matthew 5, reading the Beatitudes. And it's a long transformative experience. You know, I didn't have a thing where I said, oh, I'm saved today. Now I'm saved. I started going to churches, right? And they would say this prayer, and I would say it, and they would act like, you know, it'd be a whole celebration, and I didn't really understand. But I had just enveloped myself in the Bible, and I was drawn to these non-denominational churches because they went so far into scripture. But I was into first I found a Word of Faith church that really draws in the New Agers, because it's kind of like got this law of attraction bit to it. And then I disappeared for a while, just gave up on churches again, and then I remember a neighbor asked me to play, and I did worship at this one church. It weirded me out. The preacher would say things like, and if the Lord's leading you to spend or donate $1 million to the church, please do it, because it will bless you greatly. And I don't know, they paid me to play the drums for the church, and I just didn't. I never got paid to worship God. I always did that as a sacrifice of praise. But anyway, boy needed some money at the time. What other churches